On today's Mr. Nashville Talks, fashion designer and reality star, Johnathan Kayne. Most of us came to know Johnathan Kayne on Season 3 of Project Runway, where he placed in the top 5. Johnathan's television career went into high gear after Project Runway. He starred in TLC's Gown Crazy. From there, he made appearances on E!, ABC, NBC, Bravo, and the Style Network. Then, by popular demand, he competed on Season 2 of Project Runway All-Stars. In 2012, the Nashville native returned to Music City, making it home for both he and his glitzy empire. Today, you'll learn about what inspires his designs, his new gig with In Style Country, and what famous beauties he's dressed, both past and present. Thank you so much for bringing us into your inner sanctum here of all these gorgeous gowns. I mean, he has shown us some things that haven't hit the market yet, and some that already have, and then some celebrity clothes he's working on that we can't talk about. Just gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. It's so fun to let people in. I tell people we're like a little hidden gem here in Nashville, literally.
Well, you know, I was shocked in doing my research about you. I didn't know that you were born and kind of raised here in Nashville.
Yeah, born at Vanderbilt Hospital and raised here, and basically just moved my business and home back here in 2012. I moved away to New York to get my degree at FIT and pursue my career, and I'm back now, so I'm excited to be back here in Music City.
Well, how has it changed from when you were growing up, I mean, till now? There's been such an evolution here in entertainment and fashion and everything. So how do you see it from the childhood that you grew up here in Nashville to now?
You know, I remember growing up here and it being kind of like a sleepy town. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a little big country town, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where now it's like fast forward, even every year makes a difference. I mean, we've become a foodie city. The healthcare scene here is stronger than ever. You know, the music scene here obviously is stronger than ever. Nashville's cooler than it's ever been. You know, that song, I Was Country When Country Wasn't Cool, that's totally the story of my life. So for me, it's awesome to see that the secret's out and people know about Nashville now, what I've always loved, and why I am excited to have it back as my hometown.
We're excited to have you back.
Well, thank you.
And I was in doing my research about you. I read that your inspiration for getting into fashion was seeing Dolly Parton and Reba on the red carpets, or was that true? Or
oh, absolutely, yeah. No, it's one of those things I've said all along my whole life. I mean, I've been infatuated and loved Dolly and Reba since I was little old boy. I mean, I'm talking before I even started school. I remember literally my mom would just yell throughout the house, our little 900 square foot home. She would yell, "Dolly's on!" And then I would just run to the TV and I'd be glued. And, you know, my mom probably thought it was her bus line that was drawing me to the TV at first, but it was her rhinestones and costumes and personality and just beauty. She just is one of those people inside and out that has really shaped me as a person. So it's definitely a good role model to have.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the fashion that she had was so different than the other country stars. Of course, Loretta, you know, in the big ball gowns.
Sure.
Dolly was just form-fitting, and the bugle beads and
sexy, beautiful. I mean, I can remember so many iconic performances of her from different award shows or movies or so many things, and she always had you know, her own brand and her own style, and you know, she's always stayed very, very true to who she is and how she treats people, and that's one of the things I find most respectable about her and how she's built her business in just such a beautiful, positive way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. And you know, talking about Nashville and the country music scene, and now you're a correspondent for In Style Country. How did that come about, and what are we going to expect from what you'll be doing with them, exactly, your role there.
Sure. Basically, I'm just bringing a very big personality and fashion push to a lot of what they are putting out there content-wise. And it's one of those things where I want it to be something a little different than just talking about, oh, who are you wearing? Now, there's going to be some of that, because I think it's important for people to see that country music stars and a lot of the crossover stars that are in Nashville, fashion's becoming much more important to them, and also even with their brand. I mean, look at newer artists now like Cam, like her main thing is she wears like all yellow. So almost everything, even though she's got the blonde kind of ringlet hair, she's kind of got that and established that as one of her little fashion, characteristics about her style. And, little things like that. And then seeing like Casey Musgraves, and she's kind of going with that. It's kind of almost like, I tell people, it's like classic country meets 50s pinup, kind of. So it's just very sexy and beautiful and just something new and different. And I think that's what's really fun about what's happening in fashion and in the music scene here in Nashville right now.
Yeah, Casey Musgraves is just so much fun altogether. I think she's one of those unique personalities that's coming on the scene that we kind of missed, when we were growing up. Every country star kind of had their own identity. They sounded different. You knew who Tanya Tucker was. You knew who Dolly was. You knew who Loretta was. Not that that there's not great ones today.
Of course.
I don't want to take anything away from today, but Casey Musgraves is kind of one of those true, I'm doing everything my own way type of artists. So it's kind of great to see her coming back out, with a fresh style of wardrobe and music and everything that kind of meshed together. So.
Sure. Yeah, no, her brand is really strong. I'm excited to see, as she grows as an artist, and even her fashion choices and risks and all that stuff. I think some of the best fashion choices and big hits really are risks at first. And it takes someone that's very comfortable with their own personal style and willing to try something different.
Exactly. Well, your whole red carpet presence, not only as a personality, of course, your gowns, all of that. I mean, you're becoming a main staple with the red carpet presence now on the whole national scene, not just country music, I think, and people are taking notice outside of country music. How do you see your brand growing even more and your red carpet presence growing now?
It's one of those things. I feel so blessed and gracious to be here in Nashville, in my hometown, doing what I love. And for me, it's just making the designs beautiful, but making them fit with my brand, which is very sexy, dramatic. I'm known for my construction that I put into the inside of the garment and the way I fit a woman's body. And I learned early on, growing up with 5 sisters, that you can have a really incredible garment that when you put it on, it gives you a feeling. It may change your whole mood that day. It may change your whole, even kind of like attitude or persona. And like, that's what I have tried to really hone in on, is how clothes make women feel, or now some of my male clients as well for, their tours or some of their tuxedo jackets and stuff like that, is when you feel good and you feel, dapper or beautiful, then it really can change your emotion and change your state. And seeing that and providing that inner beauty confidence that some people don't even know they have, and I see so many clients, and a lot of times the fittings, they're very personal, because I'm seeing, women without their undergarments and without, them being all done up with hair and makeup. They're coming to me to get ready and to come for inspiration. So for me, we're just focusing on making the collections better and better every year. And I think the biggest thing is just giving back and trying to let people know that we're here. And, the more word of mouth advertisement that we get, we've been so fortunate to have several of the stars on the best dressed list and People magazine and stuff like that. And people are starting to at least recognize and remember the name. So that's what's exciting for me as a young designer.
Well, now you've dressed some of the greatest new country artists, Martina McBride, Kelly Pickler, Brooke Hogan. She's, I guess, would be considered country as well as pop.
She's recording some country stuff as well, and she's got R&B and pop history as well, and still doing some modeling and hosting and stuff like that. So we've actually got a big project coming up this summer.
That's great.
So yeah, that's really fun.
Well, and who are some of your favorites of the new artists that you're dressing? And of course, I guess you can't say this specific person is your favorite. They're all your favorites, right?
Sure.
But maybe you could name off some of the ones that you've had a challenge in doing them in a pleasant way, a pleasant challenge that you'd like to overcome.
Sure. Yeah. No. A couple off the top of my head would be a couple of Lindsay's. Actually, Lindsay L. Is a new artist that is just striking and beautiful, and she was on a couple of the best dressed lists up there with Miranda and several of the big starlets from the ACMs recently. Megan Lindsay, so that's my other Lindsay that I've been dressing for a little bit, and she's also, she's got a little more challenging shape in that she's got such a tiny waist. So she's very voluptuous, which I love that. So for me, I mean, looking back, obviously I love Dolly Parton, Marilyn Monroe. So for me, it's all about creating that gorgeous hourglass. So, but for her, sometimes finding the right fit is a little bit of a challenge, but it's definitely something, this is what I do all day long. So it's easy and fun for me to do. You know what I mean? But she's doing great things, and she's just such a sweetheart and so fun to work with and stuff like that. But yeah, between them and Brooke, of course, Brooke has become a good friend of mine now, and she's just one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. So.
Oh, she's beautiful too. And
yeah.
You've also, talking about male clients, I've read that you've worked with Rascal Flatts, Brooks and Dunn. Are you wanting to get deeper into the male couture, or?
So yes, I would love to get into doing more of the menswear stuff, but obviously not having a full collection of menswear yet. Everything's just been custom at this point. I've done a few things for Lee Brice. I actually did his tuxedo jacket with leather and gold zippers and stuff, which was a little bit more rock and roll for when he accepted his first, I believe, ACM award a couple of years ago, and then stuff for Ronnie Dunn and Rascal Flatts. So I've been very blessed to be able to start to do those, but once you get a stylist trusting your work and your quality, then more of that kind of comes along. But I am looking at doing more of that in the future for sure.
Well, many of us were introduced to you through Project Runway.
Yes.
And cheered you on.
Thank you.
I did.
Thank you.
How did that come about that you got on Project Runway?
Well, they have 4 open call auditions in U.S. cities, LA, New York, Chicago, and Miami. And basically they allow you to bring 3 pieces that you feel are your best pieces of your work you've ever done. And then your portfolio and yourself and maybe a model. So I packed up. I went and auditioned the first time for season 2 and made it to the final round and then got cut. And then I went back for season 3 and then of course made it on the show. And once you get to the final round where you're interviewed in front of the panel of judges, Tim Gunn and people from Elle magazine and stuff like that. And I honestly feel like it was just, in the stars and luck for me that season. And I hadn't slept in a couple of days because I was getting ready for it. So I was kind of delirious, when you're in that kind of everything's funny, delirious mindset and you'll say anything. I honestly feel like that's why I got on the show, because I was crazy tired.
Well, when you're on a show like that and you're having to do these challenges that are so
insane.
Yeah. I was trying to be tactful.
Yeah.
But as a designer and someone tells you to make something out of a trash bag or something like that, what's going on in your mind really? I know how what you play to the camera, but what's really
Yeah,
going through your mind.
you know, I'm always up for a challenge, but it's like, okay, how am I going to put this together? How am I going to follow the rules of what they say, but then also create something fantastic? And do I go with like making something very haute couture that's like, looks like it's from one of the runway shows in Paris that's so avant-garde? Or do I go the safer route that looks like it's something wearable you could find at a major department store? And, you know, it's you just have to kind of, it's a crapshoot and a gamble. So you just kind of have to pick whatever, pick what you're going to do and stick to it. And, you know, under the stress conditions and the time restrictions and everything, you just do your best. So for me, I just always wanted to put out something that I knew my fan base of who is currently buying my products, what they would like. And as long as they liked it and I felt proud to make it, then I was happy if I went home or if I didn't. So, but yeah, I felt very blessed to get on the show and make it as far as I did both times. I keep in touch with a few of the designers, but one of the designers I actually ended up hiring to collaborate on a collection for me. So Joshua McKinley, he now works with me on a collection here, and we hired him as a freelance designer to collaborate. So it's the first time in history that 2 Project Runway alumni have put out a collection that's mass produced.
That's awesome. Well, of all the country stars, I mean, you've dressed some of the cream of the crop, but if you had to pick one star that you've not dressed yet, who would you like, your dream from head to toe, complete design, who would you like to do? Not because that they dress poorly, I'm not
Sure,
that.
yeah, I got you. Yeah. Obviously Dolly, but I have just recently done a couple of pieces for her, so stay tuned for that. That's super exciting. She's kind of my number one, but it's a close second with Reba.
Oh, of course.
And I haven't dressed Reba yet, but I can tell you from pretty much every video of hers what she wore and my favorites. And I actually, funny story about that, I actually ran into her at, it was CMA night a couple of years ago at Cain Prime Steakhouse here in Nashville. Oh, wow. And one of my girlfriends, she was wearing one of my gowns we were all going to the CMAs and we stopped by there for dinner and drinks before. And literally Reba was at the table next to us. So she had texted me before and was like, oh my God, Reba's here. And she just stopped me and said how much she loved your dress that I'm wearing. So when I was like, I said a couple of cuss words via text and was like, do not let her leave. Like, I'm on my way. So I got there, and of course, my girlfriend Essery was like, you've got to come meet Reba. So she pulled me over and was like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Reba. And Reba had like probably 8 couples there. And Reba was so nice and gracious, just what I would want for my first meeting. I'd been to a few concerts, obviously. Yeah. But she was so gracious, and Essery just said, this is the designer of the gown, Johnathan Kayne. And I literally was talking a mile a minute, and I was like, Reba, thank you so much. It means so much to me. Here's my card. Just want you to know I loved you since I was a kid, and my favorite outfit ever was in your Take It Back video, that silk charmeuse blouse with the black pencil skirt in the courtroom. And she was like, oh my God, you do know my clothes, because that was an older video.
I missed that hair too.
Oh, the big red hair, fire hair. It was great. So like, yeah, I can tell you there's so much that really shaped my childhood from that time. So, you know, she would probably be my my number one now to dress in the country music world. Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah,
Hollywood star.
Yeah.
What Hollywood star?
Oh my goodness, probably Julia Roberts.
Oh wow.
And you know, she's in two of my favorite movies, Pretty Woman, of course, and Steel Magnolias, of course, which also has Dolly in it. So there's lots of ties to Dolly Parton in my life. But I just love Julia. I've always loved her, and her laugh is contagious. And yeah, so she's my number one Hollywood starlet right now.
Have you dressed anyone from the Nashville series?
You know what? I have done a dress for, you know what? I'm so bad. I watch that show, but I'm not up to date on it. Yeah. So I haven't done Raina James's character yet, but what's her counterpart? The cute little blonde. What's her name? Hayden Panettiere. She has a dress for us. And then her assistant on the show, we dressed her when it was for the CMT Awards a couple of years ago. So, and then I've done quite a few events with Deacon and several of the other characters, the Will Lexington character and stuff like that, but haven't done anything for them yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then I've dressed a lot of my friends that are extras and stuff on the show. Yeah.
Well, I am so glad that you gave us this opportunity to talk with you and to showcase someone that's really making such an impact in the fashion world, and they're from Nashville. I think this would have happened whether you made it on Project Runway or not. But it was more entertaining knowing that you've been on Project Runway, because we got to see your personality on the show. A lot of times we don't get to see that with the designers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm glad we did get to see that with you, and I'm glad that a Nashville boy made it so far on there. You should have won.
Thank you. Well, thank you. You know what? I think sometimes
you really did.
It's written in the stars. You know what?
Yeah.
For me, it's one of those things. I pray about it. I let it go out there to the universe, and whatever's meant to be is meant to be. It's just like I tell people all the time, I auditioned for season 2. You know, a lot of people may eliminate that from their story, but that's an integral part of my story, because if I had just given up after that first time, then my life would be different. I don't know if it'd be better or worse, but for me, it's one of those things. I feel like it was destined for me to make it onto season 3. I mean, I won the Miss USA challenge, and then I got to go to Paris for the first time ever, so that was kind of Project Runway history, and we had the highest ratings because it was the 3rd season. It had built the fan base and momentum. So for me, everything happens for a reason, and you know, you just have to look for the message of what it is that, you know, whatever higher power you believe in is trying to tell you. And I'm just blessed to be able to do what I love and make people look and feel beautiful every single day.
And we're blessed that you did that, and that we have you here, and that you did this show. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Larry.
I hope you enjoyed today's show with Johnathan Kayne. If you'd like to register to win the complete 3rd season of Project Runway, where Johnathan made his debut, you can head over to our website at www.mrnashvilletalks.com, enter and win. Good luck.